They've lost 5 of 9. The Cleveland Cavaliers have won 12 straight at home, 19 of 21 without Isaiah Thomas. I understand the Celtics are beloved. They're the 401k. They keep their draft picks. They live below their means. They never roll the dice. But LeBron's a deal maker, and Houston's a deal maker, and Golden State's a deal maker. And I look at Boston today, and I say to myself, 19-year-old Jason Tatum, 21-year-old Jaylen Brown. The Sixers process didn't look very good either, 5 years in. Could I not make the argument, Chris, that the NBA rewards the poker player, Daryl Morey, LeBron, Golden State deal makers? It does not reward the 401k guy. Accumulate draft picks. Don't take any big chances. Just avoid utter chaos. I'm watching Boston today, and I'm watching Cleveland. I like that roster in Cleveland, and it's nothing but making deals.
Well, to your point, as good as Boston looks, and they do have, flexibility to do other things, they do have Gordon Hayward returning, you don't have to strain very hard to look at that roster and say, they're really good. They'll never win a championship.
That's exactly how I feel.
Because by the time, we don't know what LeBron's going to do, but if he leaves or if he just ages, guess who's next? Philadelphia. Now, they're struggling right now. Embiid's out a little bit. We're assuming he's healthy.
Yeah.
I would take Philadelphia's future over Boston.
Because they have 2 stars.
2 stars, 2 superstars, I think, or future superstars. As far as Cleveland and the Celtics, I sat on this very couch and said I think Cleveland won the trade. Not because Isaiah's as good as Kyrie. Kyrie's a better player, but you threw in Jay Crowder. You throw in the Brooklyn pick.
And by the way, Chris, you did say that. You said Cleveland won the trade. Let me tell you something. If I go career, Kyrie and Isaiah Thomas, if I go their numbers under Brad Stevens, if I go to last year, you do get the gap between Kyrie and Isaiah. It ain't the Grand Canyon, Mr. Broussard.
No. Kyrie, I believe, is better. I don't know if I'm saying it because he's bigger, because he's done it on the big stage in the finals or what. But you're right. They're similar. Like, Kyrie's a better jump shooter, but Isaiah gets to the line almost twice as much as Kyrie, at least last year.
Yes.
And we know last year in Brad Stevens' system, he averaged 29. So you're right. And that's people looking at Cleveland now. You're forgetting that they have basically not replaced Kyrie Irving.
And they're going to in 2 weeks.
Exactly. So now they need Isaiah to compete for a championship. They need him to be able to have a prayer of beating Golden State or whoever comes out of the West.
No question.
But they're going to be growing pains.
Okay.
And people need to be patient. When he comes back, first of all, in January, they open up with a 5-game road trip. Toronto, Minnesota, Indiana, Boston. So they're playing good teams. Then their next home game is Golden State.
Yeah. So
they could lose some of those games. They could go a few weeks playing 500 or close to 500 basketball, and some people will be like, oh, he doesn't fit. They need to get rid of him, or it's chaos. It won't be. Just let it play out. LeBron will figure out a way to work him in. Ty Lue, I think he's done a great job these last several weeks. I think he'll work it out. But they're going to have growing pains because it's harder to incorporate a star than it is a role player.
There's no question. I guess my takeaway to start the show was here's Boston now, lost 5 of 9. Cleveland's on an absolute roll without Isaiah Thomas. And, LeBron and Durant and the Warriors and Daryl Morey, they're deal makers, man. And I know everybody wants to live in this 401k and trust the process stuff, but the Sixers aren't any better. The Sixers are a non-playoff team right now in the East. Forget the West. And I like the Lakers, but they're still 2 players away, and the Suns are rebuilding forever. And I think Boston's rebuild sounds good on paper. Let me just throw this at you. This is kind of your forte, is sourcing in the NBA. The Paul George story, this Oklahoma City thing, the OK3 is fascinating. The leading scorer right now is Westbrook. It should be. The second leading scorer is Paul George. It should be. The third leading scorer now is Steven Adams. Melo's now been reduced to the 4th leading scorer, and his.
Well, I think you mean like maybe over the last month or so.
Yeah,
because overall, I think Melo's still the 3rd.
So as the team has gotten better, Melo's role has clearly been reduced. That's not going to play forever.
Well, here's the thing: that Melo has to understand, and I think anybody whose team he's on, he's not what he used to be. This is his 15th year. And if he were to just completely fall off a cliff tonight in terms of his game and his performance, that wouldn't be surprising. Most guys, almost all players, by their 15th year, they're either retired or they're not even close to what they used to be. LeBron and Kobe and Garnett, they were exceptions.
Yeah.
And we can't put that on everybody. Here's the thing with Melo. You're right. They've won, 8 of 11? But over the last month, he's averaging about 13 points a game.
No, they've said more Westbrook, less Melo. And
he's still getting some shots. He's just not hitting. He's shooting about 37% over that stretch. So he's just missing.
So let me just throw this out. Let's say they just, they're a 500 so team. If I told you today Paul George in 1 year, the Lakers have shown life, but LeBron is the league's deal maker. If I said, put all your money in, is Paul George in 6 months a Cav, a Laker, or a Thunder? Because I'll tell you something. I thought it was a Laker. Your argument, your sourcing on the Cavs is interesting. Isaiah Thomas, LeBron, Paul George, Jay Crowder.
If you're Cleveland, Paul George has to be numero uno on your hit list. Now, I know there's rumors about DeAndre Jordan, and, he might fit well there, but my preference would be Paul George. I wouldn't mind having DeAndre, but my preference is Paul George. And Oklahoma City, we've talked about, they're going to have to make that decision. Right now, the Thunder want to try to make this work. Now, maybe is that just a smokescreen? We'll see. But right now, they feel like we want to play this thing out.
Okay.
And they can say we've won 8 of 11. What if they win? It ends up being 15 of 20 or 15 of 19 that they've won, even though they don't really look that good when you watch them. Maybe they try to justify it and play this out with Paul George. But if they decide to trade him, obviously Cleveland would be right there as a chance to get him, and maybe he stays. Because Paul George has to look at, am I trying to win or not? Paul George by himself with the Lakers is an odd mix because you've got these young guys who aren't ready to win yet and who are growing and whose games are kind of like his as far as the Kuzma and Ingram. I'm not saying you don't want him.
But it's a different fit.
Yeah, it's one thing if it's George and LeBron and then you figure it out because you got so much talent. But if it's just George and the young guys, that's a whole different mix. So, if I had to bet, who knows at this point, but I think it's a good chance he ends up in Cleveland.
All right, Chris Broussard doing extra work today. We certainly appreciate it, bud. Thank you.
Happy holidays, my man.
Happy holidays to you. Blazing 5, top of the hour. I said something yesterday. I got pushback. I'll double down on it next. This is the Herd in Los Angeles. There are only 2 words you need to remember while making your list and checking it twice this holiday season, and that is Tommy and John. Tommy John underwear, redefined comfort for guys everywhere. All right, I'm wearing it now. It's a game changer. It's innovative. It is patented undershirts that stay tucked in. They pull perspiration off your body. Socks made with proprietary stay-up technology. Legs never ride up. Waistband never rolls down. You don't get wedgies. Over 500,000 men, myself included, have upgraded to Tommy